Okay, now you can type your attendance. All of you, please type your attendance. Okay. Now we want to continue. It might have been a dream, isn't it? It might have been a dream originating in the fancy which had occupied my mind so long, but I awoke with the impression that my own had come and bent over me and had put my hair away from my face and laid my head more comfortably and had then stood looking at me. Okay. Here, all of you please turn on your videos. Here, it might have been a dream. David says that it might have been a dream. We don't know whether it is a dream or whether it is reality. Okay, it might have been a dream. He says that David says that it might have been a dream, originating in the fancy which had occupied my mind so long. But I awoke with the impression that my own had come and bent over me. That means he did not know whether it is dream or reality, but I awoke. He awoke from sleep. Awoke from sleep with the impression. He felt that his own had came and bent over him and had put my hair away from my face. Okay. He did not know whether it is reality or dream, but he feels that his own came near to me and touched her face in order to remove the hairs that had fallen on his face. Okay. Is it clear? Then, and laid my head more comfortably. He also feels that his own put his head more in a more comfortable position. Okay. He feels like that. We don't know whether it is real or whether it is a dream. Okay. And then stood looking at me. He also feels that his aunt stood looking at him. His aunt stood looking at him. These all are the impressions by David. He does not know whether it is reality or it is dream. He feels that his aunt came near to him and touched her, touched his face in order to remove the hairs that had fallen over his face. Okay. Then his aunt made a comfortable position in the bed, in the sofa. Okay. Is it clear? Then the words pretty fellow or poor fellow seemed to be in my ears too. That means he feels that this aunt calls him as pretty fellow or poor fellow. He feels that this aunt calls him as pretty fellow or poor fellow, but he doesn't know whether it is dream or whether it is reality. Okay. Then it seemed to be in my ears. That sound seemed to be in his ears. Okay, that pretty fellow or poor fellow, the sound seemed to be in his ear. Then, but certainly there was nothing else. When I awoke to lead me to believe that they had been uttered by my aunt, who sat in the bow window gazing at the sea from behind the green fan, which was mounted on a kind of swivel and turned anyway. And he awake from that sleep. Okay, he awake from that sofa. After that, he saw that they had been to lead me to believe that they had been uttered by my own. That means he feels that there is a sound, pretty fellow and poor fellow. He believes that this is a sound made by his own. Okay. After that, he awake from his sleep and he saw that his own sat in the bow window gazing at the sea from behind the green fan, which was mounted on a kind of swivel and turned anyway. And here David sees that his own is sitting in the bow window. Bow window means you can see the meaning bow window. A curved window. Yes, a curved shape of that window. A curved shape window. Okay, curve. And that he saw that his own is sitting in the curved window gazing at the sea. Gazing means looking. Okay, looking at the sea. There is a sea. They can see from that house. Okay, so here the David so that his aunt is sitting in the bow window and looking towards the sea behind the green fan. There is a green fan. That green fan which is mounted on a kind of swivel and turned anyway. Mounted means that swivel, you can see swivel meaning a device that allows an object attached to it to turn freely. And here this aunt is sitting behind that fan, the fan which is mounted, which is cycling. Swivel is this device that allows an object. That fan, a fan is, for example, that not table fan. There is a ഒരു stick പോലത്തെ സംഭവത്തിലല്ലേ ആ ഫാൻ ഉണ്ടാവുക, അത് കറങ്ങിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നുണ്ടാവുക. അങ്ങനെ കറങ്ങിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു ഫാനിന്റെ ഡിസൈനിലാണ് ആര് ഇവര് ഇരിക്കുന്നത്. ഓൺ ഈസ് സിറ്റിംഗ്. ഓക്കെ, ഇതാണ് കാണുന്നത്. He doesn't know whether it is a dream or it is a reality. He feels like this. Okay. After he awoke from his sleep, he saw that his aunt is sitting there. That was the real thing. Aunt is sitting there. That is the real thing. But he don't know whether he touched his face or whether he made a comfortable position for his head. He don't know anything about that. But he can see the aunt is sitting in the bow window. Is it clear? Then let's revise. Whom did Miss Betsy ask for advice about David? What advice did she get? And Maria? Whom did Miss Betsy ask for advice about David? And Maria, can you say the answer?
Mr. Dick. Mr. Dick.
Yes, Mr. Dick. To Mr. Dick, Miss Betsy asked for an advice about David. And what advice did she get? What was the advice made by Mr. Dick? Okay, just
Why, if I am you, said Mr. Dick, considering and looking vacantly and me, I showed the compliment of me seemed to inspire him with a sudden idea, and he added briskly, I should wash him.
yes, the answer is I should wash him. That means the idea by Mr. Dick was he should wash him. Should wash the boy. That's the idea by Mr. Dick. Next one, second one. How did Miss Betsy and Janet dress David after the bath? How did Miss Betsy and Janet dress David after the bath? Sean? Okay, Shreya.
When I had bathed, my aunt and Janet enrobed me in a shirt and a pair of trousers belonging to Mr. Dick and tied me up in 2 or 3 great shorts.
Yes, that's the answer. You can see 38, page number 38. That is, when I had bathed, my aunt and Janet enrobed me in a shirt and a pair of trousers belonging to Mr. Dick and tied me up in 2 or 3 great shawls. Okay, this is the answer. How did Miss Betsy and Janet dress David after the bath? Okay, Sean, is it clear? Did you see that? Next question. What was Miss Betsy doing when David woke up from his sleep? What was Miss Betsy doing when David woke up from his sleep? Anyone?
Miss,
Okay.
but Miss bent over me and had put my hair away from my face and let
The
my hair.
don't. What was Miss Betsy doing when David woke up from his sleep? That
When
was
I
happened during the time
when
of
I
sleep. Hmm.
Miss when I
When
awoke to
Ah.
lead me to believe that they had been tutored by my aunt, who sat in the bow window gazing at the sea from behind the green fan, which was mounted on a kind of swivel and turned anyway.
Anyway, okay, that's the answer. When he wake up from his sleep, he saw that his aunt is sitting in the bow window gazing at the sea. Okay, gazing at the sea from behind the green fan, which was mounted on a kind of swivel and turned anyway. Okay, is it clear? കിട്ടിയില്ല എല്ലാവർക്കും? Then next paragraph. After tea, we sat at the window on the lookout as I imagined from my own sharp expression of face for more invaders until dusk when Janet set candles and a backgammon board on the table and pulled down the blinds. Okay, here you can see after tea we sat at the window. That means they members of that family, Janet, his aunt, and this David sat at the window on the lookout. They look out through that window as I imagined from my own sharp extension of face for more inwardness. Okay, they can see many people working outside. From the look of that on, this David can easily understand which one is invaders. Invaders means trespassers. പരിചയമുള്ള ആൾക്കാർ ആരാണ് പരിചയമില്ലാത്തവരാരാണെന്ന് ഡേവിഡിന് പെട്ടെന്ന് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ പറ്റി. കാരണം എന്താണ്, ഈ ആന്റിയുടെ ലുക്ക് പുറത്തേക്ക് നോക്കുന്ന പരിചയക്കാരെ നോക്കുന്ന ഒരു രീതി അല്ലാത്തവരെ നോക്കുന്ന രീതിയും കണ്ടാൽ പെട്ടെന്ന് തന്നെ ഡേവിഡിന് മനസ്സിലായി ഇത് ആന്റിക്ക് പരിചയമുള്ളവരാണോ അല്ലാത്തവരാണോ എന്നാണ് ഇവിടെ ഉദ്ദേശിക്കുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ, Trespassers, invaders means trespassers. Okay. Then until dusk when Janet set candles. Dusk means twilight. Sandhya. Sandhya നമ്മൾ പറയില്ലേ dusk. Janet set candles. Candles? Candles means candles. Okay. Janet set candles when dusk സന്ധ്യ ആയപ്പോഴേക്കും മെഴുകുതിരി കത്തിച്ചു. And a backgammon board on the table and pulled down the blinds. Backgammon, a type of board game played with dice. Okay, they started to play a game. Backgammon is a type of game like a table and we will have a dice. A type of board and we played it with the dice. Okay, they started to play this game. Okay, this on and this Janet. Is it clear? Next one. Now Mr. Dick set my on with her grave look and her forefinger up as before. I am going to ask you another question. Look at this child, David's son, said Mr. Dick with an attentive, puzzled face. Okay, then now Mr. Dick set my on. On is talking to Mr. Dick with her grave look. Grave look means serious look. In a serious manner, she's talking to Mr. Dick and her forefinger up as before. Forefinger, we already said that this finger is forefinger. This on is used her forefinger firstly, isn't it? She points towards this Mr. Dick. We had already said that. Now also she is pointing her forefinger towards this Mr. Dick and then says, I am going to ask you another question. Look at this child. Yes, then she says that she is going to ask one more question, another question, that is, look at this child. Please look at this child. David, sir, said Mr. Dick with an attentive, puzzled face. Yes, this Mr. Dick asked David, sir, Davidന്റെ മോനെയല്ലേ നോക്കേണ്ടത് അങ്ങനെ ചോദിക്കുന്നു, ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ആയിട്ട് ചോദിക്കുന്നു. With an attentive, puzzled face. Puzzled means attentive, careful and puzzled. Puzzled means doubtful face. ഇവനെയല്ലേ നോക്കേണ്ടത്, ഒരു doubtful ആയിട്ട് ചോദിക്കുന്നു. Okay. Exactly so. Returned my own. Yes, exactly. Returned my own. What would you do with him now? Next question is, what would you do with him now? Previously, one question was asked. She got the answer. What's that boy? Now, in this case, once again, she asked, what would you do with him now? Do with David's son, said Mr. Dick. Mr. Dick. Do with David's son. Again, he is asking doubtfully. Do with David's son? Hey, replied my aunt, with David's son. Yes, this aunt is agreeing with that. Yes, with the David's son. Okay. Next one. Oh, said Mr. Dick, yes, do it. I should put him to bed. That is the second suggestion by Mr. Dick. What was the second suggestion? He said one more thing. That is, what is the second suggestion? I should put him to bed. I should put him to bed. എന്താണ് ഫസ്റ്റ് വാഷ് ചെയ്യാൻ ബാത്ത് ചെയ്യാനാണ് പറഞ്ഞത്. ഇനി എന്താണ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്? അവനെ ബെഡിലേക്ക് കൊണ്ടുപോയിട്ട് കിടത്താൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ് നെക്സ്റ്റ് സജഷൻ മിസ്റ്റർ ഡിക്ക് കൊടുക്കുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ, Janet cried my aunt with the same complacent trim that I had remarked before. Mr. Dick says us all right. If the bed is ready, we will take him up to it. Yes. Then aunt is calling Janet. Who was Janet?
Servant.
Servant.
Yes, servant. Then next one. Janet cried my aunt with the same complacent tone that had remarked before. That means the same sound. He called him with the same sound before he called the servant. Okay. ഇതിന് മുന്നേ വിളിച്ച പോലെ തന്നെ അതേ സൗണ്ടിൽ പിന്നെയും വിളിക്കുകയാണ് സെർവന്റ് നമ്മൾ കണ്ടു ഒരു പ്രാവശ്യം വിളിച്ചത് ഇല്ലേ അതേപോലെ the same way she is calling once again. Mr. Dick sets us all right. If the bed is ready, we will take him up to it. Yes. Forward now, forward this aunt is calling Janet in order to make that bed properly. Okay. If the bed is ready, they are ready to send this boy to that room. Okay. That's why this aunt is calling Janet. Is it clear? Yes or no? I think now we can conclude here. We can continue it tomorrow, this lesson. Okay. And now you can read it. Anne Maria. Read from,
Miss Ketla.
read this story. Dia,
Miss first മുതലാ.
no. Shreya, I think Shreya stopped the journey. Page number 37, first paragraph. After that paragraph, you can continue.
Here my self-support gave way all at once. With a movement of my hands intended to show her my ragged state and call it to witness that I had suffered something, I broke into a passion of crying, which I suppose had been pent up within me all the week. My aunt sat on the gravel staring at me until I began to cry. When she got up in a great hurry and took me into the parlor, her first proceeding there was to unlock a tall press, bring out several bottles, and pour some of the contents of each into my mouth. I think they must have been taken out at random, for I am sure I tasted aniseed water, anchovy sauce, and salad dressing. When she had administered these restoratives, as I was still quite hysterical and unable to control my sobs, she put me on the sofa with a shawl under my head and the handkerchief from her own head under my feet.
Okay, enough.
After
Okay, enough, Anne Maria. Very good. Then, Ijaz, continue.
After a time, she rang the bell. Janet set me on. When her servant came in, Copstress gave my compliment to Mr. Dick and said I wish to speak to him. Janet looked a little surprised to see my laying stiffly on the sofa, but went on her errand. My aunt, with her hands behind her, walked up and down the room until the gentleman came in laughing. Mr. Dick, said my aunt, don't be a fool, because nobody can be more discreet than you can. When you choose, we all know that, so don't be a fool, whatever you are. The gentleman was serious immediately. Mr. Dick, said my aunt, you have heard me mention David Copperfield. Now don't pretend not to have a memory, because you and I know better. David Copperfield, said Mr. Dick, who did not appear to me to remember much about it. David Copperfield. Oh yes, to be sure. David certainly well, said Mr. On. This is his boy, his son. He would be as like his father as it's possible to be if he was not so like his mother too. His son.
Okay. Okay, just enough. Then Sean, continue.
His son, said Mr. Dick. David's son, indeed. Yes, pursued my aunt. And the question I put to you is, what shall I do with him? What shall you do with him? Said Mr. Dick, feebly scratching his head. Oh, do with him. Yes, said my aunt, with a grave look and her forefinger held up. Come, I want some very sound advice. Why, if I were you, said Mr. Dick, considering and looking vacantly at me, I should the com-
Contemplation.
contemplation of me seemed to inspire him with a sudden idea, and he added
Okay.
briskly, I should wash him. Janet, said my aunt, turning around with a quiet
Time.
plump with I did not then understand Mr. Dick said said such such
All
said
right.
was all right head
Heat
the
the
bath.
bath. Okay, Sean, enough. Then Anne Maria continue. Only three are remaining. Okay. Anne Maria continue that.
Miss
Continue. Okay, speak up. Continue. Anne Maria. Okay, please read. Well, കേൾക്കാം. Anne Maria, please continue.
ക്ലിയർ ആവുന്നില്ല മിസ്.
Clear ആവുന്നില്ലേ? Sean, is it clear? Sean കേൾക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്നുണ്ടോ? Okay, that will be range problem. Dia, can you hear me?
Yes, miss.
So you can continue. Heat the bath വരെ ഇപ്പൊ ഷോൺ വായിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. അതിന്റെ ബാക്കി വായിക്കുവോ?
Okay, miss.
Okay, like read.
The bath was a great comfort, for I began to sensible for acute pains in my limbs from lying out in the fields, and was now so tired and low that I could hardly keep myself awake for 5 minutes together. When I had bathed my old Aunt Janet enrobed me in a shirt and pair of trousers belonging to Mr. Dick, and tied me up into or three grey swirls. What sort of bundle I looked like, I don't know, but I felt a very hot one, feeling also very faint and drowsy. I soon lay down on the sofa again and fell asleep. It might have been a dream, originating in the fancy which had occupied my mind so long. But I awoke with the impression that my aunt had come and bent over me and had put my hair away from my face and laid my head more comfortably, and I had then stood looking at me. The words pretty fellow or poor fellow seemed to be in my ears too, but certainly there was nothing else. Then I awoke to lead me to believe they had even uttered by my aunt, who sat in the bow window gazing at the sea from behind the green fan, which was mounted on a kind of swivel and turned anyway.
Okay. I think now we can wind up our class. Okay. We can continue our lesson in next class tomorrow. Tomorrow we have 2 English periods. Okay. Then we can continue. Thank you. Okay, bye.